Dublin is strangling in its own traffic, as an alcoholic strangles sometimes in the excesses of his own drinking. It's become a city owned by cars, and if something isn't done soon, it's the cars that'll go up to bed at night while the owners stand outside wearing the tax discs. Drivers are sweating it out in the traffic jams, losing money, growing the stomach ulcers that make us all more accident prone, and wondering all the time what's happened to the money they put up for the road fund and what's happened to all the plans. The Shackley plan, now 6 years with us, the tangent ring roads, the new Liffey Bridge, which was mooted as far back as 1926. The question is, can we now have a coordinated traffic plan, or could we have a crash program to relieve the tension somewhat? Let's talk to a few experts on the subject. Well, as a pragmatic man, how much money do you think we need to start a crash program?
A crash program is all right for short-term remedies. You can set up certain things, but to set up a medium or long term, you need to have 5 to 6 years preparation. In other words, we would need to be told today that in 4 to 5 years' time you're going to have 3, 4, 5 million per annum. Any specific figure, you'll have that for a certain period of 6, 10 years after that. Go ahead and plan your program of expenditure to tailor-made for those particular sums. We have tried to examine specific crossings and points in these to put temporary flyovers, steel tires, as is used in continental and British cities. We came up against the problem that there was acquisition involved, local things, which set it back 5, 6 years. Businesses had to be disrupted. And what you must remember also is that at most of the critical points in junction, usually you will find the most valuable property.
Well, we feel disappointed that there's not more progress made. And while we agree that the solution is in long-term planning, we feel that there should be a crash program, or an interim program, if you like, to get the traffic moving at the moment. It's no consolation to a motorist stranded in the middle of O'Connell Street for a quarter of an hour to be told that when the new roads are made in 10 years' time, that there won't be traffic congestion. He's anxious to get something done about the traffic congestion today, not in 10 years' time. And the reputation, shall we say, of the corporation has been that when they say they'll have a thing ready in 10 years, it's usually 30 years, or maybe 40 years. So that we'd like the corporation to get a move on.
Our job is to try and fit the traffic into the existing road network, and this of course is a very difficult job, considering that we have reached saturation point on most of our arterial routes, and as well as that some of the city streets. We are concerned mainly, of course, as you're aware, with providing regulations in connection with restrictions, prohibitions on parking, rerouting of traffic, prohibiting right-hand turns, providing clearways, and everything else which is a measure, some remedial measure.
Ray, surrounded as we are by this mess, what do you think should be done?
Well, John, we've been talking a lot about this, and I see 3 points clearly, and these 3 points are in the person of 3 people. And the first person is the Minister for Finance, and the second is the Minister for Local Government, and the third is the Minister for Justice. I think, John, Dublin, being about 1/3 of Dublin, of Ireland, is a national problem. This is a cabinet-level problem. And these gentlemen at cabinet level must come in and must do something, because they're being given the money and they're not giving it back.
So, the last ball across landed in the ministerial court. Here's the Minister for Local Government, Mr. Robert Molloy, TD. Mr. Minister, all the pipelines end on your desk. Have you any immediate solution to offer?
Well, there isn't any immediate solution. This whole question involves long-term planning. In other countries are planning 20 years ahead of the actual implementation of the plans. And the plans have been in progress here for quite some time, and I think they're fairly well known to the public already. But an immediate solution I have tossed this whole problem around in my mind. I'm quite conscious of it, being a motorist and one who comes into the mainstream of traffic at 5:30 each evening, with all this traffic coming up into the docks at the crossing at O'Connell Bridge. There's a terrible knot there every afternoon and at lunchtime. I'm very aware of it. One of the things which I have asked my people in the department in the road section to investigate the possibility of prohibiting all vehicular traffic into the centre city area and other areas which would be selected as an experiment for 1 week. We're investigating whether we could do this for a week sometime next year, maybe February or March.
Now, how would people get around during that week?
Well, it would involve cooperation from a lot of people. Of course, the public themselves, the motorists, would have to agree to cooperate. I think we would get the cooperation, but CIE would have to play a very big part in this, to lay on regular bus services from these outer areas at a very reasonable price, that the bus fares would be reduced and that they'd have a constant flow of buses and that the people could get to wherever they wanted to go quickly.
Well, as a crash program, that's a start.
Well, we're just tossing it around, but I'm prepared to try something radical as a solution.
Do you see any possibility of raising 5, 10, 20 million pounds immediately for this problem?
Well, if I had to raise 10 or 20 billion pounds, there are some priorities in the department which I think would come ahead of that type of investment in road making. Housing is one of the biggest problems that face me in the department, and if I had an additional 20 million available to me, I think that my priorities would be mainly in the housing field, and I think the public would agree with me in that.